If you were born before 1966, the next few minutes could change how much money you receive every single month for the rest of your life. 5 major changes are happening right now to Social Security and Medicare, and most people in your age group have no idea they are already in effect. Some of these changes mean more money in your pocket, some mean less, and one of them involves a countdown that every American over 60 needs to understand, because when that clock runs out, the financial impact on your retirement will be permanent. Stay with me all the way to the end, because the 5th change is the one that nobody is talking about, and it is the most important of all. Let's start with the change that is directly hitting your wallet right now, today. Your Medicare Part B premium just crossed $200 a month for the first time in the history of the program. As of January 2026, the standard monthly Part B premium is $202.90. That is up from $185 just 1 year ago. Nearly a 10% increase in a single year. To put that in plain terms, Medicare is now costing you roughly $18 more every single month than it did in 2025. And if you receive Social Security, that money is taken directly off the top of your check before it ever reaches your bank account. You never see it. It is just gone. Now you may be thinking, my Social Security went up this year too, and that is true. Benefits increased by 2.8% in January 2026, which works out to roughly $56 more per month for the average retiree. But here is what the official announcements do not put side by side for you. After Medicare takes its nearly $18 increase out of that $56 raise, most seniors are left with somewhere around $38 more per month in actual spendable income. That is before accounting for rising food prices, utility bills, and prescription costs. The Senior Citizens League, a nonprofit advocacy organization for older Americans, said publicly that the 2026 COLA is, in their words, going to hurt for seniors. They have been pushing Congress for years to change how the cost of living adjustment is calculated to better reflect what seniors actually spend their money on rather than the general consumer price index. So far, nothing has changed. What this means for you, practically, is that you need to look at your actual bank statement right now if you have not already, confirm what your net Social Security deposit looks like in 2026, and adjust your monthly budget accordingly. Do not assume the raise covered everything. For most people, it did not. Now here is something that very few people born before 1966 know about, and it involves a law that was signed in January of last year and is still paying out money to eligible Americans right now in 2026. It is called the Social Security Fairness Act, and it repealed 2 provisions that had quietly reduced benefits for millions of public sector workers for decades. Those provisions were called the Windfall Elimination Provision and the Government Pension Offset. If those terms mean nothing to you, here is the plain language version. If you ever worked as a teacher, a police officer, a firefighter, a government employee, or any job where you earned a pension but did not pay into Social Security, the old rules were cutting your Social Security benefit. In some cases, they were cutting it by hundreds of dollars every month. For surviving spouses in certain situations, the government pension offset was eliminating the spousal or survivor benefit entirely, reducing it all the way to zero. Those rules are now gone. The Social Security Fairness Act repealed both of them, effective back to January 2024. What that means is that if you were affected by either of those provisions, the Social Security Administration owed you back pay from January 2024 forward. And they began sending out those lump sum retroactive payments in early 2025. But here is the critical part for anyone watching right now. As of mid-2026, there are still retirees with complex benefit histories waiting for their adjustments to be fully processed. And more importantly, there are former public servants who were so discouraged by the old rules that they never applied for Social Security benefits at all, because the government pension offset would have wiped out their entire spousal or survivor payment anyway. If that sounds like you or someone you know, that benefit is now potentially available. But Social Security does not back pay more than 6 months for most retirement and spousal claims. Every month you wait is a month of benefits that disappears forever. If you worked in a public sector job and received a pension, call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-772-1213 or visit ssa.gov and ask about your eligibility under the new rules. Do not assume someone already handled this for you. The third change affects people who are still working while collecting Social Security benefits before they have reached full retirement age. The earnings limit has increased in 2026. If you are collecting Social Security early and you earn income from a job, the SSA will withhold $1 of your benefits for every $2 you earn above a certain annual threshold. In 2025, that threshold was $23,400. In 2026, it is increased to $24,800. That is roughly $1,100 more you can earn before they start withholding. For those reaching full retirement age sometime during 2026 itself, a different and more generous limit applies. In that case, the SSA only withholds $1 for every 3 earned above $65,160 for the months before your birthday. And once you fully reach your retirement age, the earnings limit disappears entirely and your benefit is recalculated to give back most of what was withheld. If you're in that window right now, working part-time and collecting early benefits, knowing exactly where that limit sits could change whether you want to pick up an extra shift or take on a seasonal job this year. That brings us to change number 4, and this one is specifically about your full retirement age, which has now permanently shifted. If you were born in 1959, your full retirement age is 66 and 10 months. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is now 67, a threshold that was set in motion by Congress back in 1983 and has just completed its final scheduled increase. This matters enormously for anyone who has not yet filed. If you claim Social Security at 62, your benefit is permanently reduced. For someone whose full benefit would be $2,500 a month at 67, claiming at 62 would lock in approximately $1,750 instead. That is not a temporary reduction. That calculation stays in place for the rest of your life, with only annual cost of living adjustments applied on top of that reduced base. On the other end, if you delay beyond your full retirement age, your benefit grows by roughly 8% for every year you wait, up to age 70. At that point, the maximum monthly benefit available to someone retiring in 2026 is $5,181. That represents the highest possible payout for someone who earned at the maximum taxable level throughout their career and waited until age 70 to claim. For most people, the right claiming age sits somewhere in between, depending on health, other income sources, and how long you expect to need the money. But the most important thing is to make that decision with accurate information, not assumptions. And now we arrive at the 5th change, the one that is the quietest, the most serious, and the one with the longest shadow over every person currently collecting or planning to collect Social Security. In June 2026, the Social Security Administration released its annual Trustees Report, and the numbers inside it should be required reading for every American born before 1966. The Social Security Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, which is the account that pays your retirement benefits, is now projected to be depleted by late 2032. That is not a prediction from a political group or a talking head on television. That is the official projection from the government agency that runs the program. And 2032 is just 6 years away. When the trust fund runs dry, Social Security does not disappear. The program continues collecting payroll taxes from working Americans and paying those out as benefits. But under current law, if Congress does nothing between now and then, those incoming tax revenues would only cover approximately 78% of scheduled benefits. That means an automatic cut of roughly 22% applied across the board to every recipient. Recent legislation, including a new senior tax deduction passed in 2025, has actually moved that depletion date 1 year earlier than it was projected just 12 months ago, according to the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. The Medicare Hospital Insurance Fund is facing its own insolvency pressure, with updated projections pointing to 2032 as well. Now, to be absolutely clear, Congress has intervened before. In 1983, lawmakers passed reforms that extended the program's solvency by decades. Many financial policy experts believe Congress will act again before any cuts take effect. But the window to act is shrinking, and the solutions being discussed, whether raising the payroll tax cap, adjusting the retirement age further, or modifying benefit formulas, will affect people differently depending on their age, income, and how they plan their retirement years. If you are in your early 60s right now, the decisions you make about when to claim, how much you rely on Social Security relative to other savings, and how you structure your income in retirement may be shaped in part by what Congress does or does not do in the next few years. This is not a reason to panic. It is a reason to stay informed and to make intentional decisions rather than passive ones. Here is what to do right now. Review your actual net Social Security deposit for 2026 and confirm your updated budget reflects what you are truly receiving after Medicare deductions. If you ever worked in a public sector job with a government pension, contact the Social Security Administration to find out whether the Social Security Fairness Act has increased your benefit or reopened an eligibility you may not have known about. If you are still working and collecting early benefits, verify your income against the updated 2026 earnings limit of $24,800 so you can make informed decisions about how much you work this year. If you have not yet claimed Social Security, confirm your exact full retirement age based on your birth year and understand precisely what early claiming will cost you permanently versus what delayed claiming would gain you. And finally, follow the ongoing conversation about the trust fund, because the decisions being made in Washington right now about Social Security's long-term finances will have real consequences for the income you receive in the years ahead. Your retirement is not just a number on a statement. It is the result of decades of work, and understanding the rules that govern it is how you protect it. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. When these policies change, when new laws are passed, when deadlines matter, this is where you will find out first, in plain language, without political noise, and without anything left out.